This is Bob from the Police 911. I'm at a TRIMET board meeting, so we'll see what's going on here.
Can you hear me back there?
Yeah.
Right, good. Thank you for coming. As is normal in our public meetings, the first 45 minutes or so of our meetings is dedicated to public testimony. And I have 17 people who have signed up wishing to provide public testimony to the board this morning. And this can be on any items related to anything that's on the budget or any other issues or concerns with TRIMET. When we can, we'll try to address those after the public forum, or we're not the appropriate body to deal with those issues. We'll make sure the staff gets you in contact with the right people. Since we do have 17 people this morning signed up, I don't want to see anybody. I'm seeing more coming our way here, so it's even going to be more than 17. I can tell that. I'm going to ask you all to limit your testimony to 3 minutes this morning. We do have a one folk who has indicated he needs some additional time due to some disabilities, and we will definitely allow that. What I'm going to do is call you up 2 at a time and ask you to introduce yourself and again provide a testimony, and we'll move through this just so we have an opportunity to hear everybody. And I will point out for anybody watching this at home, we provide a sign-up sheet ahead of the meeting, and people are called up based on the order in which they sign up for the testimony. So with that, I'm going to call up the first 2 who would like to testify. That's Chris Walker, representing the Committee on Accessible Transportation, and Jim Howell with AORTA, which is American Association of Rail and Transit Authorities, if I've got that right. So, you see Jim? There he is, okay. You can go ahead, Chris.
Okay, sorry. Good morning, everybody. First thing, I wrote a letter to you guys about some issues as we were talking about the contract with Broadway Cab and TRIMET Lift, and just want to put those at the forefront of your mind. There are a lot of people with the lift service who use the cabs to get around, and there sometimes can be a lot of issues, so just wanted to make sure that those are up front in your minds as you're considering today's resolutions. And also, I just wanted to compliment you guys on the way that the max improvement work seemed to go pretty well, and we have a lot to be thankful for with patient people and commuters that waited so long, dealt with everything so well, and I just think that, just making sure we really communicate how well, how thankful everyone is for people. And that would be a great thing to do.
Chris, thank you for your comments on that. I think the board would agree with you on job well done. We'll probably have some comments from the general manager about that repair work. But I also do want to acknowledge and thank the riders for their patience and flexibility during the time of those repairs. It was very helpful. Thanks, Chris. Jim.
Hello, my name is Jim Howell. I'm with AORTA, the Association of Oregon Rail and Transit Advocates. I'm here to ask the board to withdraw its support of ODOT's plan to spend over $1 billion on freeway projects in the Portland metropolitan area, and for TRIMET to assume the responsibility of reducing congestion on these freeways with viable transit projects. In today's Willamette Week, I urge you all to get a copy. There's an article called Portland's Fantasy Transit Map. It's one that I had developed over the years. And there are viable transit alternatives to these freeway projects. But unfortunately, TRIMETs in the planning have not addressed inside freeway widening to be replaced by a transit project. There's bus service that can be provided on I-205 and I-5 that was in the plan back in 1990 and has never been built, or never been in service. It's not a matter of building anything, it's a matter of providing the service. And there's other proposals, and they're in this I'll leave this copy with you. And, that's about the extent of my comments today.
Thank you for the comments, John. Thank you. The next two we have signed up are Charles Bridge Crane Johnson, with the Bridge Crane Plus United, I guess, Ultra Alliance, and Ken Marks from the Rosewood Movement.
Good morning, President Warner and board members. My name is Ken Marks, and I'm with the Rosewood Initiative. I will be providing some written testimony, and I appreciate your allowing me a few extra seconds to read this. I am here today to speak about the bus line on 162nd and 158 Avenue, road that have recently been initiated for cleaning. Rosewood Initiative appreciates TRIMET finding resources to initiate this service. However, our position continues to be that the 100 or so service hours for this route are insufficient. These hours work out to service Monday through Friday with totally inadequate 45-minute headways and no weekend service at all. And this is inadequate to the community's needs for many different reasons. One, the gap in north-south service between Southeast 122nd and 181st is 2.9 miles. The only direct transit connection to the Columbia corridor for East Portland and West Gresham is the number 87, requiring extremely long out-of-direction trips. The same is true for people who need to do other business. They have to do extremely long out-of-directional trips that could easily be done in half the time or less. East Portland and West Gresham will experience a significant portion of the influx of new residents over the next decade. A large percentage of the current and future residents include communities of concern, including people of color, elders, and immigrants and refugees. East Portland and West Gresham have historically lagged behind other parts of the system. As there are numerous reasons for the need for frequent weekend service, we also recognize there are barriers, including funding and infrastructure improvements to ensure safe access to transit, which involve multiple jurisdictions. Yesterday, representatives from Rosewood and TRIMET met to discuss these issues. And although we did not come away with a quote-unquote formal agreement, we did come to an understanding that TRIMET will work with Rosewood community partners and the numerous jurisdictional partners to establish a working group to concentrate on infrastructure and service improvements along the line, much as TRIMET and the city of Portland did on 122nd Avenue. Rosewood sees this as a positive step forward. We will be reaching out to the other jurisdictional partners to come to the table. In conclusion, there are potential funding sources that should be considered for both operation and infrastructure improvements. These include a possible employee payroll tax and a bond measure sponsored by TRIMET. If these funding sources become reality, a portion should be used to increase service and provide for access to transit for this specific route and other East Portland and West Gresham projects. It goes without saying that Oregon 217, the Rose Corridor, Abernathy Bridge, and the Southwest Corridor are a long way from the outer east side. Wisdom and history suggests it should not be neglected. And a little off of my written testimony, I would add that a little unsolicited advice. If the bond measure that you all are looking at moves forward, a lot of people who are not going to benefit from the items that are projects I listed a few seconds ago are going to have a hard time figuring out why they should support that bond measure if they do not see direct or even semi-direct benefits. I can tell you that the people in the outer areas that do not benefit from these projects will not support this bond measure, and that will leave you all in a significant hole. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good morning, TRIMET board members. My name is Charles Bridge Crane Johnson. No relation to Mr. Terrell Johnson, who was executed, killed by TRIMET police officers within these last 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks yesterday. I think there's a lot to talk about, but we shall have a brief moment of silence to remember Mr. Terrell Johnson killed on TRIMET property by Portland police, working as TRIMET police. Certainly he deserves more time than that, but there's many things we need to talk about. More and more people will be talking to you about the benefits actually of having unarmed transit police. They can kill people with their guns, but also armed police, it seems, are becoming more of an escalator than a de-escalator. We're talking to you about the need for a moratorium on fair enforcement and fair checkpoints. It's really a gross waste of resources when a MAX pulls up to a stop and there's 8 armed people blocking every MAX store. It's not efficient. It doesn't positively contribute to the revenue stream. It concerns Commissioner Amanda Fritz on the Portland City Council. There was an issue when we were debating whether we should go ahead and fund things back when Chief Modica was in the situation for leaving the TRIMET police. The budget process has got to be more participatory so we don't end up with insane results like building a mini Gitmo in Old Town Chinatown. People are just calling it the TRIMET jail, but it's really more of an interrogation cell. I'm not saying there's going to be waterboarding happening there. I'm just saying that it's only a few blocks from the interrogation cells we already have in our fabulous jail. So I hope that you'll work very closely with the PDC, find a much better way to use these federal funds. I know they can't be used for things we really need, like fare mitigation for very low-income people, or even free fares for ultra-low-income people. But I hope you very seriously look to engage constructively with the PDC, Dr. Molikapu and other members on that board, so that we can see that, I believe it's federal grant money, used for something much more community beneficial than interrogation cell jails. Another useless thing that's slipped into the TRIMET conversation lately is more lanes of freeway. Nope. Don't need more lanes of, I mean, you can make the argument that they're needed, but when people have bad behaviors of excessive car use and occupancy vehicles, you shouldn't enable that. Even if we went to all electric vehicles, it's still insane to kill nature to put down pavement. And I don't know, can I find you on eBay? I hear that Governor Kate Brown has you all up for auction. So I think that somewhere between you and Metro, there needs to be a discussion working group on how, in a country that used to be proud of its democracy, regardless of how imperialist we were, could have a TRIMET system that's not privatized under Ports Dubai or somebody, but is led by the elected Metro government. I appreciate your willingness to serve under appointment from the governor, but look, my clock is faster than your little blinky light. So thank you for your service, but please consider the idea that your engagement, that TRIMET should transition to either being under Metro or separate elected board. And let's not forget Terrell Johnson, and that the city of Portland was sued by the United States Department of Justice for situations of people with mental health issues.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, the next two I have coming up are Joe Walsh and James Shirtliff.
No guns, no sweep.
No guns, no sweep.
Moratorium now.
Excuse me.
Moratorium now.
Mr. Joe Walsh and James Shirtliff. All right. Mr. Walsh, I'm sorry.
Good morning, my name is Joe Walsh, and I represent Individuals for Justice. I wasn't gonna speak here today because, number one, I'm not feeling that well, and number two, I didn't know if I'd be qualified to convince you of anything. You know, I know we have public testimony, and with the city council and the county, it's getting to the point where we look at you and you're looking at your watches for us to shut up, to get it over with, you know? And you have a budget that you're gonna spend $11 million on a place for what? To hold people, to arrest them, to interrogate them? That's not your job. Your job is to get me on the 4 bus to get me here. That's your job. So how do I convince you that we are in terrible, dangerous times right now? Every morning I get up, I ask my wife, because she's usually the first one out watching television. I say, how bad is it? And every morning for the last 3 weeks, she said to me, it's bad. It's really bad. From the national level to you. And I know that you guys are doing your civil duty and you're trying to do the best you can. I'm giving you that. As an activist, I'm giving you that. Why would you spend $11 million? And why do you have so many cops with guns? You don't need cops with guns. You know, sometimes I forget my past. And if I remember, I go back up and I get it, or I pay the $1.25, which is really good for me, that $1.25, and not the $2.50. That's important. And it's important for the students, and it's important for the people that are homeless, that they need to travel, so they take the risk of traveling, and you arrest them. And now you want to build a place to keep them. Why? That's not your job. Do your job, please, and get away from this $11 million.
Yes.
Be creative and say, you know what, we got a problem. We got 1,500, if you talk to some people, 5,000 if you talk to other people, of people just surviving one day. One day, tomorrow. That's all they're interested in, tomorrow, to get through today. Take the $11 million and help them, for God's sakes. Would you please? I'm looking at your eyes, and you're human. You're not animals. You're human. You have human spirit. And if you go before God someday, and you have to answer for people dying on the streets because you used $11 million to lock them up, he's not going to be happy, or she's not going to be happy.
Thank you, Mr.
You're going to be in a lot of trouble. So please,
Thank you.
in the name of God, stop it!
Thank you very much. Mr. Walsh,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm working on papers.
That's a tough one to follow. I'm James Shirtliff, a concerned citizen. I also believe that it's critical that we view ridership through the lens of social justice, not criminal justice.
Yay!
And I urge the board to reject the $11 million for the detention center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay!
Yes.
No guns, no sweep.
All right, the next two we have are Guy Berliner and Russell Brown.
When I come to you with a perspective, I used to be a huge TRIMET fan, advocate, and I have to say, I'm not bristling with the statistics and studies to share with you, but I am feeling a white-hot rage. And I'm one of the folks that you really need to have on your side, so this is bad. I've witnessed a young woman with a child in tow on her way to daycare get yanked off the train, not because she didn't have the fare, because she hadn't validated her ticket. So now she's going to be late to daycare, late to her job, maybe lose it, maybe lose her housing as a result, all because, God forbid, she didn't pay exactly the right fare because she was neglectful, or maybe she cheated, God forbid. But what are the consequences for her, for her child? This is really outrageous. When I first came to Portland, I used to have folks visit me back before you yanked Fairless Square away from us. And I remember most of my relatives are fairly, well off. They don't necessarily need to take transit. But I take them around and show them the cultural district, as we call it in places. And we get on the trains, we get on the buses, and they'd ask me, well, where do I pay, how much? And I tell them, it's free, we're in Fairless Square. And they'd all marvel, wow, what a charming, what a gracious, what a sophisticated city Portland is. And now all of a sudden, you have loads of people who are middle or upper middle class who are big advocates for transit. You've lost that. You've destroyed one of the greatest goodwill ambassadors for transit that anyone could ever have come up with because of this niggling obsession with making sure that everybody at every single instant, at every single nanosecond, pays the exactly correct amount of money. There's a name for that ideology. It's called neoliberalism. It's called neoliberal capitalism. And it's gotten us to the point where the polar ice caps are melting, and we may only have 10 years left of this bloody civilization before it collapses. This is the wrong approach, folks. There are such things as virtuous circles, and there are such things as vicious circles. We're now in a vicious circle. When you put stinginess and greed and viciousness out into the world, you multiply it. When you put generosity, compassion, and empathy out in the world, you multiply that. Which do we want? Do we want a virtuous circle or a vicious circle? Because we're in a vicious circle now. Thank you.
My name is Russell Brown. I'm an alum from Cleveland High School. I am here for Terrell Johnson, and I'm not going to talk too much about that because I don't want to cry during public testimony. I will say Terrell and I went to high school together. We played football. We were in the same journalism class. We didn't know each other well, but we always got along. I want to echo much of what has already been said about the circumstances surrounding Terrell Johnson's death. And I also want to ask the board to stop allowing different agencies, different police agencies, to monitor transit stations together. It's ridiculous. I hear Johnson should be fired. I recognize you don't have complete control over that, but you need to help us hold the police accountable for this. This was completely and utterly ridiculous. 2 police officers from different agencies should not be allowed to work together on the same case. Terrell Johnson was fleeing the scene, okay? Y'all are asking us to, or the police department has been asking us to just look at the facts. I'm looking at the facts, and looking at the facts, I'm calling this murder.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Thank you. So I have Shannon from the Sisters of the Road and Diana Remke from Oregon Physician for Social Responsibility.
No guns, no sweets.
No guns, no sweets. Moratorium now.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shannon, and I'm here as a representative of Sisters of the Road. And for those unaware, Sisters is right on the corner of 6th and Davis. We've been there since 1979, and we are a low-cost restaurant where people can work for their meals. A lot of the people that we serve are living outside. A lot of the people we serve are transit dependent and poor. and of course are disproportionately people of color, trans people, people who are marginalized by other systems. So I'm here with a few different things to say about the valid outrage that people are experiencing. And I also think this is a really awesome turnout for your board meetings. Do you usually get this level of community engagement? That's pretty great. And that's something that you should maybe take that energy and run with it. So we've all got ideas. And some of the things that Sisters is bringing to your attention as places where we think that you could look for solutions moving forward are participatory budgeting. It's quite possible, though I think unlikely, that the promised savings from moving this transit station would have been something a community group would have liked. It's also more likely, in my opinion, that people would have preferred other capital improvements. And you don't know that. And I think that's the problem, is that you don't have that community buy-in into your budget. So where can you get that, and where can you learn what the community would prefer to have done with that money? Secondly, the fear and distrust of transit enforcement of all kinds. People, especially at Sisters, use TRIMET because it's shelter for a day. It's somewhere warm, it's somewhere cool. And it's necessary for survival. A low-income fare would be key. That's one thing, obviously, that I think you all can do. And I think the work being done to keep fare enforcement out of the criminal justice system is good. Certainly a move in the right direction, but it definitely needs to be better. Musical interlude. Also, contracting with municipalities' law enforcement is what leads to the needless and senseless killing of people who are using transit. The Terrell Johnson killing was because of a militarized police, and that flies in the face of everything that TRIMET stands for, or purports to stand for, in terms of a public transit system, and being a public good. So you all have an opportunity to use your leverage as people that are contracting with these municipalities to say, this is not what we want out of the people who are enforcing things on our public transportation system. People do not need to be armed on our public transportation system. You're getting the same problems that were coming out of that DOJ settlement because you're using the same people in the same system. So you need to look at your systems and change them. Training on nonviolent de-escalation, on community resources, on mental diversity are all things that could be put into a new and more equitable safety system on TRIMET. So I should stop. But I just think that you can look to places where you can avoid this in the future and take this energy moving forward. What can you learn? What can you implement to avoid senseless deaths, to avoid needless harassment, and let equity drive safety measures moving forward? Thank you.
My name is, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Dr. Diana Remby. I'm a community psychologist, and I live in North Portland, and I'm here representing Oregon Physicians for Social Responsibility, my family, and my community. Oregon PSR, as we call it, for make it shorter, uses the values and expertise of medicine and public health in our work to alleviate the greatest threats to human health and survival. Our work on climate change has led us to envision the path to a low-carbon, healthy climate future where the health, well-being, and happiness of people and communities is prioritized. So mass transit plays an important and major role in our transition to a healthy, safe, and just future where our climate is protected and ease of mobility enhances opportunity for all citizens, especially those who are marginalized in our current system. Personally, I love TRIMET. All right, I don't own a car. I use the bus and the MAX all the time, and we have some of the best bus drivers I've ever encountered. But unfortunately, my experience as a middle-class white woman is not the experience of so many of the people who use TRIMET here in Portland. A recent study at PSU, as we all know, showed that among citizens charged with fare evasion, that African American people were more likely to be banned or excluded from TRIMET than white people. This trend was more pronounced when the interaction involved local police who were acting on transit duty.